that's the choir at the Nsawam prison, and they composed this. They performed it in about 2 hours. Thanks to Seth Kwame Boateng for getting us this, and we'll be monitoring because the prisoners are also voting in this particular election. So watch out for all the details in terms of how they vote right here on Joy News. This is your election headquarters. Yesterday, we covered thoroughly the special voting exercise. It was supposed to be a special voting, but it would not go all well as a special voting exercise because there were so many issues. Some officers could not find their names on the voters register list even as they went to their various polling stations. Lots of talks, some disagreements here and there at various polling centers. We covered that for you. It's a day after that exercise. Some decisions have also been made. There was an IPAC meeting yesterday, late in the evening. Earlier on, Cordero, which is also an election observer, issued a statement. Today, we want to analyze what went wrong yesterday. We want to look ahead of Sunday. How is it going to happen? The Electoral Commission will speak to us on that decision of a special voting again on Sunday. And then we'll also speak about the peace pact that was signed. What is actually contained in it? We heard the various presidential candidates make various statements, but really, what are they signing on to? What's their responsibility in terms of all they said on that stage yesterday? We'll speak to IDEC, who also worked in the background to make sure that this happened yesterday. Now, let's get on to my guest now. They're seated. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Akuapem South, Osei Bonsu Amoah, is here. Good morning to you. It's been a very long while.
Good morning, Avi.
Yeah, you've been working underground.
I'm campaigning.
How is it going?
Very well.
Are you winning?
I'm the incumbent, and I'm still leading.
Okay.
So I'm winning.
All right. That's nice to hear. But also, Abraham Amalaba is a private legal practitioner. He's a member of the NDC, and he's also joining us. Good morning, Mr. Amalaba.
Good morning. Normally, when you introduce him with his full name, it confuses people.
Obi
Amoah is but Osei Bonsu. Then people begin, who is this person?
Okay.
But we are taking the seat. We've gotten a young lady who is very energetic, and surely we are snatching the seat from him.
Why is that seat
and you know when the president
of
went
interest to you, Mr. Malba? I didn't think you.
No, he's my good friend, but I think that partisan issues, partisan issues here must take precedence over our friendship. So I think that the young lady will take it.
Yeah.
And when the president went there, you saw the crowd. Oh, that made him go underground for 2 weeks. He was no more on TV and television. He had to go and see what he can do. And
okay, we'll keep our eye on that seat. Yeah, but
if you're a special voter,
I pray for you. I pray for you.
If you're a special voter, come there that day to come and see for yourself.
Yeah.
How NDC will. They should be worried they don't fall to the third position, because the CPP man is charging all over the place and is likely to even overtake the NDC lady.
Wow.
And that would be disastrous for them.
I think DOFI has just talk about yourself and leave.
I'm telling you, actually contest that.
He's giving you a hint.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about tomorrow. Let's talk about yesterday, and then we'll talk about Sunday. The day started off. We didn't think we were going to have the issues that were encountered yesterday. I mean, it was across. When we started talking to our reporters on the ground, we realized that it wasn't just one place, it was everywhere. I'll start with you, Obiamwa, because you've been observing. This is not the first time we're doing a special voting exercise. What went wrong? Did you see this happening? Because you went for various IPAC meetings ahead of this.
Good morning to viewers and to the good people of Akuapem South. If you say that you were not expecting it, maybe you were too optimistic. Because as at the night before the special voting day, we had been given the third register. We had a first register, we went through it, the second one was given. The second one, even on that very day, 2 registers were given. from 112, our register jumped to 161. So it was coming. And the fact that it appears that the EC has not been communicating at all, given the fact that somehow the stakeholders, especially the parties, had given the EC some leeway regarding the regulations. Because we went to IPAC a week today, and the arrangement was that even though the CI says that not later than 42 days before elections, you cannot put your name on special voters list. We were told by the EC that they had to sidestep that provision because a list from the security services came late. They had already taken a decision, they were informing us, but they still had to plead with us that they had not followed the regulation. So if we've allowed you to do a list even to the very last day, then why are you still in such a mess? In fact, if you read the graphic editorial, it's very apt that you cannot manage 127,000 in a day. How are you assuring us that you can manage 15 million on another day? And the problems were so many, you couldn't believe it. I mean, somebody will be in some, and he'll be called. If you take my place, for example, you'll be in someone, they will be called that we found your name here. So whatever you are doing, stop and come and vote. But the person didn't have any idea where he was voting, which is very serious. Because the average voter is supposed to know where he'll be voting, his polling station. But if you've put persons on a special voters list, and one, they don't know where they'll be voting, and two, they can't find their names, then obviously there's a problem. We haven't even come to whether they even run the elections according to the law. We haven't come to that, because I even saw some problems the way they were running the elections. But if we even stick to the special voters list, I'm surprised that after giving them all this leeway, sidestepping the law, they still didn't have enough time to compile just a small list. But the excuse they gave was that the security services didn't bring their list to them on time. Then we said, well, go ahead in the interest of security. And then look at what happened yesterday. And I wonder, come Sunday, they'll be able to address this. What they're saying is that we should go and vote again on Sunday, so that those who couldn't make it. But that is not really the problem. There are some whose names are not on the list. So if they go on Sunday, unless they produce another register, the register they've given us, some names are not on the list. Come Sunday, they cannot vote. That's why they are pleading with the heads of the security agencies to position some of these security people close to where they will be working.
Do we know what has gone wrong here?
A lot has gone wrong. One, communication. Communication between the EC and those who were to be involved in special voting. That's one. Two, communication within the EC itself. And three, the application of the law. Because to educate the public and viewers, we can look at the law. It's very simple and straightforward. As you have to, if you want to be a special voter, you have to apply. And when you apply, it should not be not later than 42 days. We all agree to it. The key thing here, which we should notice, is that a returning officer who receives an application under sub-regulation 2 shall, where the applicant is a person whose duties are related to the elections, ascertain from the applicant where the applicant will be working on election day. If the applicant will be working the same constituency where the applicant is registered, but at a polling station other than where the applicant is registered, or in a different constituency. So we have to get all this information and then program the information If they just submit a list and they don't indicate some of these details, you will also produce a list which will create this kind of confusion.
Is that what happened?
Part of it is what happened. Part of it is what happened. Because why they had different lists was that initially, if you, Mamavi, you applied for special voting, they thought they could put you on any list. But that is not what the law is. They should put you on the list where you registered, so that the polling station where they will create a special one center, if it's one center at Lejekuku, that's where every registered voter
in that constituency
will be voting, who has applied for special voting. They cannot send you to cantonments because
because that's not my constituency at all.
No. So that's the first list they produced, and we have to draw the attention to the fact that anybody who comes to that center and who is not registered there, you will not be allowed to vote.
The final one, I'll come to Mr. Amaba, but how have we done it, Obiamwa, in the past?
Well, people forget so easily. In the past, special voting was very chaotic. Very chaotic in the sense that anybody could apply, that he'll be busy on election day, so he should be allowed to vote during early voting or special voting. Anybody. I could walk in and say that I will be working for my party on election day, so put me on special voting list. So in 2008, Trump voted on special voting and voted again on election day because we didn't have this biometric system. And EC could not manage it. It became a big issue. So what EC decided in 2012 was that they restricted to only security services and EC officials. And then it was done. Now 2016, what has changed is adding media to it. But they should be able to produce the same list. The person's name should be in the register in the constituency he's voting. So when they saw that that was going to be a problem, then because a lot of people were aware before special voting day that their names were not on the list, including EC officials. Because the parties had the register, and whether we like it or not, some know themselves. They started getting in that, have you assigned duty on election day, but on special voting list, my name is not there.
Ms. Amalba, what's your own interpretation of how things unfolded yesterday?
Let me say good morning to your viewers. I think that it was largely peaceful, but with challenges, because monitoring, I did not hear any violence. I did not hear any snatching of ballot boxes. I did not hear any macho men going to intimidate anybody. So on that score, it was peaceful.
There was an incident at Nima though, but you go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm saying that largely it was peaceful. However, the challenges he enumerated were obvious. We saw them, we heard them. I think that this special voting is quite different from the previous ones. Because in this one, no, in the previous special voting, you only voted for the president.
Oh.
Yes.
No,
you only voted for the president. No.
No, let me correct you.
No. In the previous one,
in 2012, I had 82 in my constituency. I was voted for as a parliamentary candidate.
Well, that is the understanding I got from the report.
Sheet.
Now, in this one, you vote both for the president and your parliamentarian. So people had to go. That's why they asked people to go back.
But he's just said that in his constituency.
No, I'm not sure because.
But he stood. He's in parliament.
I told you what I got in 2012.
So
I have the collations, probably even my car, which I can bring.
So, based on that, I'm sure the EC did not give out the information that people will have to go to their constituents.
Yes.
In good time. Because if we did the same thing in 2012, then why were people not proceeding to their constituency? If we did that, and that people knew that you were going to vote for the president and the constituency, the MP.
Yeah.
Why is it that people did not proceed to their constituents?
Can I just say, you know, getting the reports, even as I sat here yesterday, the feeling was people didn't transfer their vote. They thought they had done the transfer.
Yes.
They didn't transfer.
So this is where I wish to vote. And the feeling is I've transferred my vote, so I'm going there to vote.
Because
even though it's not my original constituency.
Because I've made a special voter.
So
let me give you another example.
If you place your name on the special voting list, is that a transfer?
There were people who spoke and said they asked us to bring our cards.
Yes.
And that they were going to make us vote here.
So the assumption was a transfer.
So there were a lot of things coming out yesterday.
If the EC intended that, then they should have put it in the law.
That what?
That in spite of the fact that there's a deadline for transfer, for special voters, they could transfer anytime. In which case, they could just place your name from... Let me give you an example. My head of EC in the district, her vote is in Koforidua. And she couldn't transfer because she hadn't stayed in a brief for 12 months. She was just brought there. So she didn't qualify for transfer. You understand? So her vote is still in Koforidua. Yesterday, her name was on the list in a brief. So she had to go to Koforidua to go and vote. But if the law had made room for it, even without a 12-month deadline, once you're a special voter, they could easily transfer your vote.
Okay. Then are you saying that people were told that once your name was on the special voting list, it meant you have been transferred?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You could vote anywhere.
No,
I got the sense,
and that's what I'm saying, that
hearing the people that's how they felt.
If that was a practice in 2012, people should know that. Then you have to proceed to your constituency.
Yes,
because that's how it is. It has been so, and so for me, you cannot blame the EC entirely for this. Let's also remember that the EC also took some names very late in the day, the additional names that came from the police or the security agencies, and that could also be a challenge to them. This register is a difficult one because this is not the register that the EC itself compiled in terms of going out there and collecting names of people and putting them together on a register. This is a register that was compiled by institutions and brought to the EC. So the difference is that the EC's own register, which they collated and compiled, is much easier to deal with than when you sit down and say Joy FM, bring their list, then another organization bring their list, then this organization bring their list.
What's the difficulty? What's the difficulty there? Because there was a deadline.
The difficulty
I didn't forward my name and my details in time, so I wasn't put on it.
The difficulty is that, as I listen to the EC, is that some of the names came without ID numbers, because you needed an ID number to be able to work with that in the EC office. Some came where your ID number was supposed to be written, they wrote their telephone numbers. So it was also practically difficult for the EC sitting in their office to easily do these things. But I'm saying that what created the problem the most was the late announcement to people who did not know that they have to proceed to their constituents. And so that the EC has accepted, and I'm sure that's why they slated Sunday as another day for those who could not vote. The political parties have agreed to that arrangement. I heard McMinu indicate that that would be refreshing, so that all those who could not vote would now vote. It is a right, a basic right for people to choose who they want to rule them. And so if this arrangement, Sunday's arrangement, is what is on the table, I think that then it will go a long way to ensure that people are not disenfranchised. Beyond that, I only think that this would be a learning curve for the EC, so that some of the things that we are seeing will not repeat themselves when we come December 7th.
We'll be speaking to Yusuf Ayuba in a while, but let me just read a bit of Kodeyo's observation statement on the Electoral Commission special voting exercise on Thursday. So their main findings: one is prospective voters not finding their names on the special voting lists. Two, differences in the Electoral Commission special polling station voter list and political party agents list of special voters. Number three, they say unclear information from the EC with regards to voter transfer of special voters, and they make some recommendations. Let me just read this one. It says Kodeyo is encouraged by EC's promptness in issuing a statement assuring the general public and particularly members of the security agencies to resolve the identified challenges in the special voting exercise as soon as possible. Also, Kodeyo recommends that if possible, the EC should consider setting aside another day to allow the prospective special voters who were unable to vote during the early voting period to exercise their franchise. And shortly after, I think late in the evening after the IPAC meeting, we got to know that Sunday has been set aside. But how is it actually going to work on Sunday? Yusuf Ayuba, we'll get in touch with him in a while, and then we will speak to him on this matter as well. But what are some of the lessons? Well, what are, even if you look at this Kodeyo findings?
Well, if you look at what has happened, partly inefficiency, partly lack of communication, and partly complacency. It's easy to say we are ready for elections, we are prepared, and then fail to execute it on the day. And that's what happened yesterday. And what was even worrying was the fact that certain decisions taken at IPAC appeared not to have been communicated to those operating on the ground. For example, we saw that whoever is in charge of issuing the ballot paper, once you detach the ballot paper, you should show it. There's only one before you give it today. It wasn't that. Two, if you remember, at some centers there was confusion about placing of the booth, because it was agreed that at least the person going to the booth should be seen by those outside, so that it doesn't appear to take anything from his pocket or to add things before going to put in the ballot box. Some places they were not done because there was no communication between national and the district, and created confusion, and then they had to make calls and settle it. Even what is even more worrying is that if you introduce manual verification, and once you've introduced manual verification, it means that manual verification forms as provided in the CI should be available at every center, because you have said that once the person's name is on the register and the barcode has been scanned showing that indeed he is the person on the register, he has to be verified. But if the machine rejects his verification, then he has to proceed to vote without that biometric verification, in which case the presiding officer should fill the manual verification form. But at some centers there were no verification forms, in which case a person, if a person could not be verified biometrically, that means he couldn't vote. You do follow? So
if there are no forms, then we'll still go by the no verification, no vote.
Yes, and you didn't provide the forms. So why have you provided manual verification?
But when they are packing the items, I understand the party people there. So you are supposed to cross-check everything they put in the box before it's taken to the center.
Yes. Yeah, so you have the option of then stopping the whole elections, or letting it go on, hoping that manual verification issue will not pop up.
No, I think her point is, why didn't the agents of the political parties draw the attention of the EC that there's still one item left?
Because
why are you not putting? Yes, so that's her point.
Yes, which I agree with you. I'm saying that you could even then decide, because I went to certain centers and I asked some places no manual verification form. So if a person gets there and he is scanned, but he cannot be verified, and you say he should go home, you create more confusion. Because EC is trying to avoid what happened in 2012 by driving people away because they could not be verified. So you have provided in the law. And you're saying that that is what we want to do. But you haven't made provision for that thing to happen on the ground. So imagine the major election. You still create this problem. You create more confusion. And I thought this is so simple that there's no way that you can forget manual verification. But indeed, it's not that they forgot. They were not provided. From the national region, they didn't send it to the districts. So if you didn't send it to the districts, how were they going to add it? They were only hoping that, Klapim South 161 on the list. We are praying that anybody who come and vote would be verified biometrically, so that this will not arise. But it can happen. For some people, they have to be verified 3 times before the machine picked them. So if the machine was not picking, then you have to go for the manual one. But you are not ready for the manual one. So you have to go.
But Mr. Malaba, what are the things that we've learned from this exercise, from your observation, that we can use to enhance what will happen on December 7th?
But before then, I think that you ask a relevant question. It's a collective responsibility. You are an agent there, not as a glorified agent, but to assist in the process.
Yes.
So if the EC has left the manual verification form, you have a checklist that
to be fair,
you have a checklist. Officer, where is the? We have not seen this. Can you provide it?
To be fair, when I asked my agents, to be fair, they said that they do their attention to it. They said they were bringing it from Kofodia. It hasn't come. So do they wait for it, or do they proceed hoping that the issue will not arise? Well,
we cannot verify that. But on your substantive question, I think that the EC itself is listening and watching and heard the complaints that were put forward yesterday. I think that for this particular issue of people not being able to find their names, people not being able to know where they are going to vote, will minimize, because for the general elections, everybody knows his polling station. With the special voting, because the whole constituency is to vote at one place, people had that confusion as to whether they were to vote at where they are working or to go back to their constituency. But with the general elections, it is settled. Everybody knows where you go and your polling station.
Is it?
Why? Everybody knows. Because you went to register at a place, and it is that same place that you go.
But remember also that some people also transferred their votes.
Yes. So for transfer votes, you must transfer to a place. And indeed, for transfer vote, you don't transfer sitting at where your vote was. You go and transfer at where you want to vote.
Yes, but so you must be assigned the police station.
Yeah, so when you get there, they will assign a police station, and all these things will be made known to you. But what I think is that EC must begin to send out information in good time. If there are changes to anything, they should be proactive and send information out. That is key. The whole issue about elections is to provide information ahead of time. I also think that the equipments must be tested and to ensure that we don't have equipment failure.
The verification machines?
I'm sure yesterday we didn't have that.
There was an incident. There was an incident, but the backup helped.
Yes. So the equipment must be tested so that we don't have a situation where we are told that these things are happening. The third thing for me is to ensure that we do not have a situation where people will go to the polling stations and cannot find their names at all. Because yesterday there were some who said they didn't find their names in the special voters list. But for the general elections, once the person has the card, it is presumed that his name is in the register. Once you have the voter registration card, it is presumed that your name is in the register, because it's from the register that they extract the card for you. So there shouldn't be a situation where people will go and will not find their names, provided they are able to locate their polling stations. So within this period, the EC must begin to take stock of what happened yesterday and begin to put in place these mechanisms to forestall an occurrence on 7th December, because these elections are, the stakes are very high, and I do not think that it is for the EC to allow these things to happen to further heighten the temperature. The EC must be up and doing on this matter. We expressed concern yesterday as a party that we were unhappy with the way people were not able to vote, even though they were asked to go and vote for the special voting. And I think that the EC will take all these concerns on board. I just think that in making our grievances known, we should not bastardize them. That is the way I think we should go. We should be responsive in the way we criticize the EC.
Okay.
The other worrying aspect was the way the security services people were reacting to the situation.
Some said they wouldn't work on December 7th.
Positive defiance, and it's worrying, because what kind of communication went on, and what information did the EC ask the security agencies to provide, and how come they did not provide that kind of information, or did they really ask for the right information? And then what communication went on within those who were required to do the special voting, even within the EC itself. Some persons who have been employed by the EC to be presiding officers didn't know what they had to do. That is the worrying aspect. And elections is only Wednesday. So the kind of training they gave them, didn't these issues come up? And how were they addressed? You understand? That's how come some said they were just asking for our card. But asking for the card, what information did they send to the EC regarding the security services? That is how I was a bit surprised that those who didn't find their names, or those whose names had been sent elsewhere, were really agitated and then threatening. I hear some even had confrontation with the EC officer, and some threatening that come election day they will go and vote wherever before they go and do their assigned duty, and that is not too good. It's not encouraging.
Yeah, yesterday I heard some of the security men in Tamale, but I, for a moment, thought that wouldn't that amount to mutiny if your commander requires you to go and do a certain job and you defy that? Wouldn't that become what I'll call mutiny, or show of disrespect to the authorities? I think that. But
you're a lawyer. If
you defy your
voting
commander,
is my right,
no,
and I don't vote.
If you obey the Constitution, if you obey the Constitution against your commander,
your core
will be punished.
Your core business is to provide security for this country,
not to vote.
Your core business is to protect lives and property in this country, and so if you are instructed to go and play these core functions and you defy your superiors, you can be cited for.
But I thought that even before you became an officer, you're a Ghanaian.
Sure.
And it's your right to decide who leads you.
Yes. And I thought that was not the way to go. I thought that the way to go was not to publicly announce that you defy instructions. As we speak now, there has been a solution provided. It was not as if we had gotten to a point that we could not proceed again for them to be making those statements. I think our security agencies should also, the men and women should be calm and not defy orders. That is not the best. You can also complain to your superiors. The superiors can talk to the EC, and then this result will come.
I tell you what, there were some in Ho Central, for instance, there were some police officers who went to the municipal electoral office to ask to go and get some answers, and they didn't get any. There were a lot of media houses who were trying to get in touch with the Electoral Commission yesterday when the issues started cropping up, and they were not willing to speak. Even after they issued the statement that said they were going to try and figure out to do something, they still didn't speak to anybody.
Yeah, they sent a statement
so the
saying
lack of communication, I mean, if you're not telling the people anything, because the people are watching TV, they are listening to radio, and they are trying to get the information, but there's nobody assuring them of anything, what would they do?
Yes, yesterday I was happy that finally a statement came from the EC saying that, and it was particularly addressed to them, the security men, indicating that they should be calm and that the EC was going to do
something. Could that have come earlier in the day?
Oh no, but they were monitoring. They were monitoring. They were monitoring.
Just when the people started voting.
They were monitoring, and you don't expect that with that panic that was created, they should react immediately. They had.
You describe it as panic?
I'm saying that the panic that came from the reaction, they should. EC could not react in that situation. And you know the EC takes decision collectively. It's not like one person. So they were to meet, and in fact yesterday they met the presidential candidates. You are aware of that, and then subsequently followed up with the IPAC. EC works with stakeholders, and so you couldn't expect that statement would have come earlier. If the statement came earlier and it did not sit well with any of the political parties too will come with a statement and counter. You didn't want that banter. So they had to take their time and do what they did. So they issued a statement, and the statement was to the effect that the security agencies should be calm and that they were figuring out what to do to resolve the problem. And I'm happy that at the end of the day, we have this solution, which is that Sunday there's another opportunity for
Obi, just your take on you know, when things are heated that way, when from the beginning of the votes people are not finding their names, they are not getting, because the presiding officer would simply just tell you your name is not in the list that I have, that's it. There were other party agents who had other lists, and nobody was saying anything. I mean, was this right? Could this statement have come a bit earlier than it did yesterday?
I think it should. I think it should. In any case, you always say that IPAC is advisory. Sometimes you take your decision, you just obey formats. That's number one. Two, you can issue a statement that is not binding per se, but giving assurance that we've just noticed some of these issues and we think that we will take steps to address them. And then there will be opportunity, because people panicked, especially when they had the impression that they could not vote on election day if they couldn't vote on special voters day. That was where the whole problem emanated. So you could have given a certain assurance, because they thought that they had been disenfranchised right from the beginning, because indeed if your name even appears and you're not able to vote, your name will go to the absent voters list. That was one problem. If your name is on a special voters list, it has to be transferred to the absent voters list. So come election day, once your name is on the absent voters list, you will not be allowed to vote.
If your name is found on the absent voters list, you can't vote.
You can't vote.
Why not?
That is what the law says.
But I thought you were absent,
you're absent
with the special voting, but not with the general.
No, you've already exercised your vote under the
there are two situations where your name can appear on the absent voters list. When you have transferred your name, and when you have voted on special voters day. Once you voted, you can't vote again on the main election day. In which case, your name should be on the absent voters list. So whether you went to vote or not, once your name is on a special voters list, it means automatically to be transferred to absent voters list. So
does the law make provision for, can you notify the Electoral Commission within these few days that even though my name is on the special voters list, I didn't vote on the special voters day?
EC, this law was made by the EC. The EC itself set deadlines because they said they needed more time to manage the register and to use the electronic system. They could have made exception to special voting and said that in the case of special voting, the 42-day deadline does not apply, number one, and number two, ABC doesn't apply. in which case you can maneuver to address some of these things. But if you put it straightly like this, in this form, your name is supposed to be on absent voters list.
But when you transfer your vote from one place to another, your name will be missing and showing absent voter from where you were.
Well, yes.
But you can vote at the other side.
The new destination.
Yes.
I recall, and I've said this before, but I don't know. I recall that in the last elections, you could text your voter's ID number to a certain short code, and it will tell you where you're voting.
I don't know.
Is it just me, my memory, or this actually happened?
But it was mainly to check whether your name is on the register.
Yeah.
And not where to vote,
Oh, okay.
Now, what UC would have to do is that additional polling stations have been created
to cut down the number of people who will be queuing.
And some of the polling stations have been broken into two. So you have A and B, Presby Primary A, Presby Primary B. The UC on that day should even indicate, because otherwise people will go and queue for a long time, get to the table, and they will tell them, no, even though you voted here in 2012, your name is not here, it's been sent to the second side. And then we have to go and start all over again. That will also create problems. UC should indicate right from the beginning, if possible, put notice at the polling stations, maybe A to G, Presby Primary A, G to Z, Presby Primary B. So that when you get there, you know by my surname, I should join this queue, and join this queue.
We'll look ahead to Sunday, but there was also a peace
There's no
pact
guarantee that
signed.
Sunday will be successful.
We'll talk about
No,
that.
it can't be that.
There was a peace pact signed yesterday, and it makes the front page headlines in the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times as well. It was a beautiful ceremony. We had beautiful speeches as well, but what does all that mean? What's actually in that? What have they agreed to do, and what's their responsibility as presidential candidates? Patrick Richard Okine is joining us via phone. He's a media and communications consultant with IDEC, partly responsible for what happened yesterday. So we want to speak to him and get some details. Mr. Okine, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Mamavi. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I hope you are too.
I'm blessed. Thank you.
We thank God. So what have our presidential candidates agreed to in this peace pact that they signed yesterday?
Yeah, basically this is a reaffirmation of the same commitment that they made in 2012, which was to make a declaration or take a stand against electoral violence, impunity, and injustice. And so this time around, it was just a reaffirmation, and to commit to peace before, during, and after the elections, and to be responsible for any act of violence that may emanate from the party members or supporters, and to say that we will stand by what we've committed to and ensure that the rule of law prevails, even if there's some dissatisfaction or disagreement with the result.
But we know that largely when things happen, when there's chaos, when there's violence, it's not the presidential candidates themselves. It could be the people who support them.
That's right.
So how far can we hold them responsible for the things that happen on the ground?
Well, I guess the general idea is to say that we are not going to create any hostile environment or atmosphere leading to the elections and also afterwards. And we will speak to our supporters and our party members also to heed, or adhere to what we've committed to. And so it isn't to actually arrest anybody or to hold them, accountable per se, accountable in the sense that they're going to be arrested and put in court for acts which did not necessarily come from them directly. But I guess that the whole idea is to say that we commit to peace. Any act of violence that may come from any member of our party is completely not our stand, not our position in this regard.
All right, Mr. Patrick Richard Okine, we'll leave it here. Thanks a lot for your time. He's a media and communications consultant with IDEC. Let's move over to the Electoral Commission now. Let's speak to a Deputy Communications Director of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Yusuf Ayuba, is joining us via phone. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for your
Good morning, Mama.
I see you've been very busy this morning.
Yeah,
But yesterday you were missing. You were missing yesterday. Let me begin this way. Why did the Electoral Commission not speak the whole of the morning until you issued the statement? Even that, you still would not go further to explain anything that you put out in that statement.
Well, Mama V, I spoke a lot in the morning. Towards the afternoon when your reporter called, we were in a meeting. You know, the Ministry of Power did a donation to the commission, donated some solar lamps to the commission. So in the morning or in the afternoon, we were in the meeting. They came around 3 o'clock. We went in there and finished the donation. So it was not as if we didn't want to speak with me.
Now that you've given me some information, the donation, how many lamps were you given? What exactly would they do on election day?
We were given solar lamps, about 15,000 of them.
15, is it 15 or 50?
15.
Okay, so 15,000.
Yes.
Is that,
It is supposed to complement the lamps that we already have. You know, in this country, it is not all the polling stations that have access to electricity, and we could be counting the ballots way in the night. So it's an addition to help us in case the counting goes deep in the night. We can have lights in order to be able to count the ballot.
Ms. Ayuba, we have another special voting day on Sunday. Tell us exactly what's going to happen, what will be new. How are you correcting the issues that came up yesterday?
The issue that came up yesterday was a little bit confusion as to whether you would be allowed to or you can vote in the constituency in which you don't have your vote, where you submitted your name for special voting. And we've clarified that you cannot vote in a different constituency in which you do not have your vote. But because of that situation, people, we had a lot of complaints from the general public that they went to the polling station or the special voting center in the constituency in which they do not have their vote but leave. So when the commission got this report, it went into a meeting. We met with the security agencies, and later in the evening we met with the political parties. And a decision has been taken that all the persons who have their names on the special voters list would be allowed to vote on Sunday exactly where their votes are. So, for example, if your original vote is in Ashanti region in a constituency and you are currently in Accra and you submitted your name for special voting, you have to go to your original constituency where your vote is to be able to cast your vote. So we've given the opportunity to persons who already have their names on the register who could not vote because of this problem, so that they can vote on the 4th of December, that is coming Sunday.
There were some people who checked with their original constituencies who still said their names did not appear there either.
It means that they did not submit their names for special voting.
Okay.
And let me place it on record that it is not all the security agencies who submitted their names for special voting. So such persons, we are feeling that in their deployment, they should be sent to areas where they have their vote, so that those persons can cast their vote and also, be able to work as security agency personnel to protect the polling station.
Ms. Ayuba, kindly clarify this issue of list changing at the very last minute, because we had a lot of that yesterday. What happened?
You know, any list that we bring out from the Electoral Commission, we give copies to the various political parties. We do not do things in isolation. So whether there were changes or not, the political parties were informed of any activity that we intended to do.
But there's also the information that you kept updating the original lists. And on the morning of the exercise, there were some who said they didn't have the register that the electoral officer on duty had.
That is why I'm saying that the fact that an agent at the center does not have a copy of the register does not mean that those copies of the registers were not made available to the political party, or they were not in the know if anything different would happen to the register that was supposed to be sent to the polling station.
There are also some concerns raised about the ink and the fact that you could easily use wipes to just wipe the ink out. I don't know if that came to your attention.
And you are now telling me it's not come to my attention. But immediately you drop the ink, sometimes it looks faint, but when it dries, then it blackens.
Okay. The issue about positioning of the ballots, of the box, the positioning of the booth at the polling station. It looks like that has also not been clarified, because it also became an issue in some of the centers.
I don't think that should be an issue at all, because it is supposed to be uniformed across board, the way we set up the polling station. So
but do your personnel know that on the ground?
They know, because we have a chart, indicating how the polling station is supposed to be set up. So, and every polling station is supposed to have a copy. So, I don't know exactly what happened, but then, if even there was an issue about the setting up of the polling station, what the agent should have done was just to draw the attention of the presiding officer that we think that where you have placed the voting screen is not appropriate, and it will be adjusted. And we place it in such a way that the secrecy of the ballot would be protected, but then people around the polling station would be able to see you, the person, at the booth campaigning, but then they cannot see exactly who you are campaigning for.
But there were calls to your office yesterday to resolve some of these issues.
I didn't receive a call, but I wouldn't say that there were no calls to other officers. But me personally, I did not receive any call about the positioning of the voting screens and the various centers.
There's also the concern about showing the ballots before you give it to the individual who is going to vote. That also didn't happen in some of the places, because your officers apparently didn't know that.
Yes, when the polling assistant tears the ballot and validates it, he's supposed to just raise it a little bit for the agent to see that it is only one ballot that has been issued and it's properly validated. So I think that if that is the concerns that are coming, we'll make it and ensure that our district officers relay this information to the ballot issuer, so that it will ensure that it will be uniform, across the country, so that people can exactly follow how many ballots have been issued to a vote at a time.
There's also another issue of manual verification forms, which were not available in some of the centers. What happened?
I would be surprised if they didn't have manual verification forms. It is the duty of the presiding officer. That is why we always tell them that they are supposed to report early at the polling station, receive the material, go through the materials, and if there are some materials that they don't have at the center, they draw the returning officer's attention and it will be supplied. I know that in distributing and deploying materials, such materials, we have them in extra quantities so that in case even it gets fault or it doesn't even come, we'll get a replacement for those centers. So this is a good feedback that we will be relayed to the officers. But then we train them on these issues to ensure that they receive all the materials they are supposed to, use at the polling station before polling starts at 7.
Mr. Ayuba, we know that a little over 120,000 people were expected to vote yesterday. Do we know how many successfully voted?
We still receiving the figures from the region, but I can tell you that the turnout from the regions is very impressive, contrary to the report that a lot of people could not vote. And also we've made it possible for the political parties and the returning officers, to go to the various police stations and get the total number of people who voted from the BVD. If you press F2, it will recall all the total number of persons who were verified, and then in addition to that, we add those who voted, using the manual verification form.
Do we know the number that were turned away because their names did not appear?
I wouldn't say we have that number number, but because their names are not on the register, it means that they are not on the register. What we would advise is that they should, now that we're giving another opportunity for them to vote on the 4th, they should try as much as possible to check with the list in their original constituency to be sure whether their names are on the list or not, so that they can take a decision as to if their names are on the list, then they can vote on Sunday, but if not, then they prepare and vote on the 7th of December.
So my original constituency is somewhere up north. I'm in Accra now. I transferred, but I don't know whether the transfer was effected. How do I check if my name is still in Tamale or it's in Accra before I make the move?
Good question.
The good thing about the transfer that we do now is that it is done online on our VMS system. So immediately your vote is transferred, a new ID card is printed to reflect your new polling station. So if the transfer does not go through, it will not allow you to print a new voter's ID card. So it is instant. You will know immediately where your new polling station is, because it will indicate your new polling station within your new constituency. But the only thing that remains constant is your voter's ID number and your picture.
Do we know the number of people who are yet to vote in the special exercise that will happen on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm sure by close of day we should get that figure, but it wouldn't be a huge figure looking at the figures that we are receiving from the region.
So impressive you described. Is there a figure?
Let me state that some of the challenges that we received were not widespread. It concentrated in Greater Accra, Ashanti, and I think Volta. These were areas that we received more of the complaints, but in the other regions, the complaints were minimal.
So what was significance in these areas that you mentioned?
The only problem was that they didn't know that in voting in the special voting, the only difference is that it is meant for a category of persons, and two, it is done some days before the normal voting, but any other rules governing elections remain the same. So they were confused and thought that if I live in Accra and my vote is in Kumasi in the constituency, it means that when I submit my name in Accra, it necessarily means that I am going to vote in Accra when I haven't transferred my vote. The only time you can do that is during transfer of vote. If you transfer your vote and subsequently you submitted your name for special voting, then it means that you would vote in your current constituency. So those were some of the issues that created a little bit of tension.
Ms. Ayuba, what was agreed on with the security services?
We agree that because of the challenges that we faced, yesterday, and also their deployment plans, we would afford not only the security services, if there are media personnel and also the officials of the Electoral Commission who could not vote but have their names on the register, we should give them another opportunity for them to go and cast their vote Sunday the 4th, so that they can come and prepare to be deployed outside the area in which they have their vote to work on December 7th.
Should we expect another list, a new list?
No. It's going to be the old list that we used yesterday. The only difference is that those persons who are already on the list, who could not take advantage of the exercise yesterday, will be allowed to vote. That is the only difference. We are going to use the same list we used yesterday.
Okay. Ms. Ayuba, you used impressive to describe the turnout yesterday, so I thought that you could give us a certain figure, so we would all appreciate.
We've not received all the figures from the region, so I will not be able to put up a figure out there. So, but we would put out the figure, and you will realize that contrary to the report that we received, in a particular region, the minimum percentage turnout was about 75%.
Ms. Ayuba, just another thing: are the security services aware that if your name is not on the lists, you cannot vote?
Yes, it is. Let me place this one also on record that it is not all the security agencies that submitted their names for special voting. It must be made clear. Some of the agencies did not submit even one name for special voting. So all those persons who submitted their names for special voting and have their names in the special voters register, those persons will be allowed if they want to vote on the 4th of December.
Just before you go, how much is this costing us? Because this wasn't part of the plan.
Oh, in designing elections in the law, and there's a possibility for adjournment. So in trying to cost the activities, the commission makes provision for some of these issues. So it's within the budget that we submitted, for approval.
All right, we'll have to leave it here, Mr. Ayuba, but I'm grateful. This has been extensive. Thanks a lot for your time.
I'm also grateful for the opportunity.
Mr. Yusuf Ayuba speaks for the Electoral Commission. Okay, so we're clear.
What's important from what you have said is that it's not all security personnel who will be performing duties on that day.
Who will voting.
And who will be voting for the special voting, or will be voting on that day for the special voting. I'm sure some people just felt that once they are part of the security agency, they could just go and vote on the special voting day. But he has made it clear that it's not everybody, and some agencies did not even provide names. I don't know. I thought you have mentioned.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I'm surprised because
the police, fire service.
Because we know that immigration sometimes assists, and all the other allied security agencies assist. So I don't know why this time some agencies fail to provide names. That would be something that we want to follow up.
Are we Sunday going to be successful? I mean, he's giving us a detailed plan.
We are praying and hoping, especially the EC should be able to communicate very well, like what he's done this morning. He's done very well. He's very impressive. We should commend him for that. But it should go down to the EC officials, go down to the security services, and even to the media. Otherwise, we'll be stuck with the same problems, because you go to a center and there'll be a confusion there, or there'll be confusion there, and then it will turn out that they don't understand the issues. Because if indeed your outfit did not submit your name, then you can't walk there and say that I've now been told that I'll be operating somewhere on Wednesday, so I'm coming to vote. Your name will not be there, and then you should not blame the Electoral Commission. But you should find out from your outfit why, even though you'll be performing your duty. Because part of the arrangement with IPAC yesterday was to impress upon the security heads to position some of these persons who will be performing on Wednesday closer to where they'll be voting if their name has not been submitted. You understand?
So they could even vote early before
even if it's their own center. It's easier for everybody. If you are voting at cantonments and you are sent to a polling station at cantonments, then you can vote there. But if you are voting at cantonments and you have to, let's say,
to Kaswa,
go to Kaswa, that means you have to vote early at cantonments and find a vehicle to Kaswa to go assist in security. So they still have a lot.
By then, to the pool will have started there.
Yes, but probably you are not the only person who will be manning the place. If you are the only person, that means the pool will start without security. So there's a lot of work that the security agencies to have to do to try and minimize this thing. It's not going to be perfect because some have already been handicapped. But if a person is in WA and his name is still here, you weigh between, and the people came all the way from Kumasi to come and vote.
Yeah, somebody came from Obuasi.
Area to come and vote. So a person may end up weighing whether he should come all the way from WA to come and vote on Sunday, or he should forfeit the vote and then stay put there and then do his work. But they should communicate very well, and this time, even though it's obey before you complain or whatever, they should let them understand.
Okay.
They shouldn't intimidate them and kill the person that you are under my command. Do before you complain. It will not help.
In wrapping up, I just want us to touch on this peace pact that was signed. Mr. Malba, what does this mean?
What it means is that as leaders of the various political parties, they have committed that they will not incite their followers to create chaos or violence. You asked the question when the CDD, IDEC man was on. Sometimes the supporters on their own volition can trigger some of these violent activities. But this peace pact is saying that they will not be the ones to, as it were, trigger that violence. Because you ask the question that how can you hold the leaders responsible for the acts of their followers? That's a good question, but I also like the way he answered the question. It is to say that they will not be the ones to incite them. So now, what was striking for me was what Joseph Osei said. And, you see, he said that he prefers all of the 7 of them dying and then leaving the rest of the country in peace. In peace. And he turned around and looked at them and said that, you see, they are afraid. They don't want it. What it tells us is that, and the youth, what it tells us is that when leaders say that they will fight till the last drop of their blood, it is because they will not be at the forefront. It's because they will not even be at the back. It's because they will be sitting somewhere drinking beer whilst you are on the street. That's why they say that. If they know, as in the Roman Empire, where leaders, lead their men to war and they are in front, don't make that comment. Because this statement from Jacob Osei, where they all had to look at each other's faces, it's a clear indication that they don't want to die themselves. Okay. So don't let any youth, as you watched yesterday, don't put your life down and die for any of these leaders. And I don't think that they also want you to die because of them.
Thank you.
I saw the ministers there. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. If we are preaching that there's salvation and then we all go to heaven, probably then Reverend Minister will say that he wants to die first, but he wants to be in heaven first. But that's just by the way. The reality is that I think that part of the problem is communication. Part of it is education. And part of it is deterrence. If people think they can take the law into their own hands just because it's elections, they will do it and nothing happens to them. It's just 2 days ago that I heard from the police saying that these are the steps we've taken, these are the actions we've taken on some of these incidents. That's really long overdue. Let people know that they cannot take the law into their own hands, from the leader to the last person. Don't say that because it's elections, there are no laws in this country. That's a major problem, the challenge. And then the education aspect of it.
Okay. All right.
This has been. I thought I just saw it on my phone.
Okay.
You know the handkerchiefs or whatever, the pad. You know, you are supposed to use it to clean your hands before you fold the paper. I'm told that with constant use, it becomes wet. So even if you still clean, you still have stains of the on you, and it can stain your paper. So people have been advised to go handkerchiefs along. I don't know whether that.
So I got that information, but I didn't get the understanding this way. So I didn't ask the question the right way.
So people should go with their handkerchiefs or whatever. But I don't know, now that we are suspecting, if I then dip my hands and I'm removing, what will people say?
Unless it's, even if it's your best pocket, they will still suspect.
Yeah, they will suspect.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Really enjoyed your analysis. Thanks a lot. The Honorable OBM, I'm not supposed to say or say, but
he's popularly known.
Parliament Kofi himself. We wish you well in this election.
You wish me more than well. You should be,
I'll come and give you moral support.
Yes. Indirect campaign.
Mr. Abraham Amaleba, I'm with you as well. So
yeah, there's going to be there's going to be a new parliamentarian in his constituency.
Okay, one of the biggest artists in Ghana today. He stayed relevant for such a long time, and he's still relevant today in the face of all these young guys. You can say the BIM Nation and Shatta Wale, you know, the movement and all that, but he's still such a big deal in our country. He has a peace song, and I heard the Electoral Commission even wanted to adopt it. I am happy to announce that he's my guest here on the AM show. Ladies and gentlemen, Samini is right after this.
He's a superstar.
Yes.